What's up everybody, Shane here, and I'm here to show you my Sub-Zero deck that I played at the Rockford PTC. I did not play in the tournament, but I played a couple pickup games. I let some players play as Sub-Zero against other players, and I also played the Sub-Zero deck for the boss fight as well. So you can watch that boss fight over on Rockford UFS. It's under the 2018 Robot Masters event. And yeah, let's get into the deck. Alright, so our character is Sub-Zero. He has two enhances. The top one is your stun attack, it's +2 damage, and then if it is blocked, your opponent discards one card. So that's very strong. If they block your attack, they have to pitch another block. It's pretty nice. The bottom ability, you flip the foundation, you seal one of your opponent's assets or foundations, and then you commit it. So it turns off stuff like forward and other like anti-stun kind of stuff, because it seals it first, and then it commits it. So he's a very strong character, very simple. Let's go over the attacks. I play 4 copies of Hyper Bomb. This is like a catch-22 attack with Sub-Zero. Basically, if it is not blocked, you draw a card, and then if it is blocked, the opponent discards a card. So it does a lot of things. It has stun too. It's a low attack. Very strong card in the deck. Perhaps his best attack may be Death Valley Faceplant. This is, so much stuff happens with this card. Okay, so it's a throw and it has stun, alright? So you use Sub-Zero to give your attack stun 2, or to give your stun attack +2 damage. So now it's at 7 damage, so it's a 7 damage throw. Then you do the enhance on Faceplant, stun them, and stuff like that. So if they don't block it, they're going to take 7, which is a big chunk of life. If they do block it, they discard 1 card, they take 4 damage because it's a throw, you gain 2 life, and then you commit one of your opponent's foundations. So a lot of bad stuff happens if they block this card if you're Sub-Zero. So this is a very strong card in the deck. It almost always goes through. From my experience, everybody took 7, which is pretty nuts. Next up, we have 4 copies of Magnet Slam. There's a lot of low attacks in this deck, and this is a low attack with stun that pretty much can only be blocked by low blocks. And it has an amazing high block as well, so this is just a good card in the deck. Next up we have Icy Slide. This is one of the new cards, the Sub-Zero attack. It's like his poke, but it's kind of better to be played late in the string, mainly because this attack is +X damage. X equals the total printed stun ratings on all cards in your card pool. So let's say, for example, you go like Hyper Bomb into an Icy Slide. It's going to get +2, +2, +2. So it's +6 damage, puts it at 7, then you give it +2 damage with Sub-Zero, so it's at 9. It's only 1 speed, but if they've been blocking these attacks and they've been discarding cards, they probably don't have a hand, so they're going to take 9 damage. Then if you play another Icy Slide after that, it's +8. So this is a really strong card. I think I won most of my games with Icy Slide. Next up we have 2 copies of Nutcracker. This is a Johnny Cage attack. It is just another low attack with stun 2, so it fits with the theme of the deck. Like Hyper Bomb's a low attack with stun 2, Icy Slide's a low attack with stun 2, Magnet Slam is a low attack with stun 1. So it just fits with the deck. It also has Breaker 2, so if I need to block with it, then I can just stop your turn. But it's mainly used for the attacking portion. Next up we have 2 Barrier of Frost. This is a multi-purpose card. I can attack with it because it has stun, and then if my opponent blocks, they discard a card, and then here if it's blocked, they have to commit one of their foundations. So that's pretty nice. But mainly it has a leaf shield kind of effect where after you block an attack with this card, that attack deals no damage. So I usually just hold this in my hand to block with, but it's another stun attack if I need to play it. The only high attack in the deck is Frosthammer. I play 2 of them. This is a super strong card. It's pretty expensive to play, but you know, it just deals a lot of damage. So there's 2 ways you can play this card. Well, first off, the best part about it is the bomb ability. This attack gets +1 damage for each of your opponent's committed foundations. So there's 2 ways you can play it. You can just straight up attack them. So you could go like Hyper Bomb, Icy Slide into Frosthammer. So they've stunned 7, so this is going to get +7 damage at least. And then it's going to get... It's just a giant attack. You got to like check it on an 8 if you do this, but when you do, it's probably going to kill him. There is a way to increase speed. The top ability says that this attack is +1 speed for each of your opponent's sealed foundations. Now the way you seal is with Sub-Zero. His bottom ability, you flip a foundation and then you get to seal and then commit one of their cards. So what you can do is you can use his ability on each of these attacks, and that's 4 sealed foundations, meaning it's going to get +4 speed. And then you basically get to commit 4 again. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So you've like basically stunned 11, so it's going to get at least 11 damage. There's just so much stuff that happens with this card. So that's one way to play it. The other way to play it is that your opponent tries to kill you and they fail, and then they're all tapped out, and then you just kill them on the backswing. So this is like backswing the card. So this is basically another attack that just kills them. Next up we have Deep Freeze. This is Sub-Zero's like ultimate attack. It's his the X-Ray. It's a stun 2 attack, so it fits with the deck. The enhance, you can discard a momentum, then you seal up to 3 of your opponent's foundations, and then it gets +1 to the stun rating. So you can seal 3 and then stun 3. So you turn off 3 of your opponent's best foundations, and then you stun them for 3. And now the seal is also going to help with Frost Hammer, and it helps increase the speed on it. So this is just a really nice card. I only play 1 because it's like a mid to late game card. I need the momentum, so yeah. So that's 23 attacks. I know it's a lot of attacks, but we have some foundations to make up for it, and I'll get to them as we move on. First, I want to go talk about the actions. I just play 4 actions. They're all defensive. I play 2 Prepare to Fight. This is like the standard defensive action. You can completely block high attacks and low attacks, and then you can pitch multiples from their card pool and stuff. So very solid card. I play 1 copy of Showdown. This is an amazing card. I don't think people play this enough as they should. Basically, after you block with this card, you get to target commit 2 foundations in your opponent's staging area. So it just works with Sub-Zero. Like, they attack you, you block with this, you commit 2 of their best foundations. It kind of turns off their turn. And then the response on this, the bottom response, you can commit 2 foundations, and after your opponent plays an ability on an action card, you discard it and cancel its effects. So this is like good on blocks and it stops actions. Just a nice card to have. The 4th action is Stop. This is an amazing card. I think this is going to see a lot more play after Mortal Kombat releases, because after you block with this card, you commit your opponent's character. So characters that may seem oppressive, like Reptile and Quan Chi, Kodokan, all that kind of stuff, you just can just stop and just, commit their character. So that's that. So that's 23 attacks, 4 actions. So now we have the foundations. So we have 4 Quest for Vengeance. I had this at 3, moved it to 4. I may go back down to 3. But the ability is just kind of good. After you block with this card, your opponent discards 1 card. So if they attack you and you block with this, then they lose a card, which either keeps them from holding a block, like an additional block, or it keeps them from building an additional foundation. So it just kind of hampers their turn when you block with this. It has a 4 check and pretty expensive blocks, so it's kind of iffy. When this gets played into the staging area, I just flip it with Sub-Zero. It's just, easy food for Sub-Zero's bottom effect. Next up, we have 4 copies of Faye-Faye, just standard speed reduction, defense, you need it. Then we have 4 Cryomancer's Descendant. This card is super good. The top ability, you remove it, and after a stun attack deals damage, both players discard 1 card. Now that's your stun attack or your opponent's stun attack. So you can do it on either player's turn just as long as a stun attack is dealing damage. The bottom ability, the Sub-Zero response, is the best part about this card. You destroy this, then after one of your foundations is flipped, you unflip 2 foundations. Now, that's flipped due to cost or effect. So, like with Faye-Faye, for example, let's say you have 2 of these and you have a Cryomancer's Descendant. You can flip -3 speed, flip for -3 speed, but you respond with this to unflip these 2. Now, since they're fresh copies, you can just do it again. -3, -3. So that's -12 speed with, just with this card and 2 Faye-Fays. So that's a cool thing you can do with it. Only Sub-Zero can do that. Of course, if you're forced to flip one of your best foundations with his ability just to push through damage, you can just rebuy it with Cryomancer's Descendant. So that's really good with cards that flip themselves, which brings us to Funky Tomato. This is another card you commit to flip to cancel anything that increases damage. So you have the speed hate, you have the damage hate, and then you have the card to rebuy them both. So there's a lot of defense in this deck. Next up, we have 3 copies of Extended Lifespan. This is one of the new spams from the Aaron Black support. This is just like a defensive card. The top ability, after you flip any number of foundations due to your opponent's effect, you get to target commit 1 of their foundations. So if they Spiders and Dragons you and they don't hit this, or they push the limit, or you use Vicious as Enhance and make you flip a card, you can just respond with this, commit to target commit 1 of their cards. So that's very nice to have against those kinds of abilities. And the bottom effect, after your opponent adds any number of cards to their hand during the combat phase, you can flip this to draw a card. So there's not a lot of card draw in this deck, so this is in here because if my opponent draws, which they probably will, I get to draw with them. So this is a very nice card to have. And then of course you flip it, you can rebuy it with Cryomancer's Descendant and draw more cards if you really need to. Moving on, we have 2 copies of Datadog. This card's really good. Response, you commit it after your opponent discards any number of cards from their hand during the combat phase, they discard 1 momentum. So with Sub-Zero, you play an attack, they block it, they discard a card, you get to discard 1 of their momentum. And momentum hit is super strong, you know, especially with like Fatality coming out and stuff like that. People are going to need to main deck momentum hate just to keep their opponent off their power plays. There is a cool thing you can do with Datadog. Let's say you block with, like it's their turn, they attack you, you block with Quest of Vengeance, they discard a card, you can commit, make them discard a momentum as well on their own turn, which further stops their power plays. So that's a really cool thing you can do with Datadog and Quest of Vengeance. Moving on, we have 2 copies of Cool and Focus, just defense, you need it to live. 2 copies of Securing His Destiny, again, defense, you need it to live. 2 copies of Tough as Bricks. This is an amazing card. After you take 4 more damage, you can commit this to target commit one of your opponent's foundations. So it works with what the deck wants to do, and it's just kind of insane that when you take damage, you get to pin down their best foundation, which is kind of nuts. Like in the boss fight, I think it was game 1 or game 2, I'm not sure. He played a Technical Sphere, used Explosive Acrobatics to remove a Coffee Samba, then like stunned me for 5, and I committed most things, but I left this card up just in case he had another Technical Sphere. So I took the damage from the first Technical Sphere and I committed his Explosive Acrobatics. And then he played another Technical Sphere, so my read was right, and he couldn't remove Allurophobia with Explosive Acrobatics because I already pinned it down. So this card, very good card. 2 copies of Tijuana Groceries. I play 23 attacks in this deck, so I check 3s a lot. So, you know, I have to commit foundations, so I can commit Tijuana Groceries, then I can enhance with it, playable while committed, remove 2 foundations, and ready it. So it just helps me play my attacks. So moving on to the one-ofs, in addition to Tijuana Groceries, I also play 1 copy of God of Thunder. This card's enhance, you destroy foundation, then you ready one of your foundations that has not been readied this combat phase. So, again, in the boss fight, I think it was game 1 or game 2, I'm not sure. I was checking 3s during my attacks. So like I had like, let's just say I had these foundations done. I had God of Thunder. So I had to commit 2 to pass pretty much every single one of my attacks. So I commit 2, I use God of Thunder, destroy 1 to ready, then I play another attack, check another 3, so I commit 2. Now this one I already readied, so I destroy this to ready this. Then I checked another attack, so I committed these, and then I destroyed this to ready this. So God of Thunder, in addition to Tijuana Groceries, helps you play attacks when, you know, you fill your checks. Because I play a lot of attacks in this deck because Sub-Zero is a character who you want like 3 or 4 attacks in your hand before you go in because you really want to exhaust your opponent's hand. So God of Thunder and Tijuana Groceries really helps play attacks. So that's the first one of. I play 1 copy of Refusing to Let Go. It's defense, you gotta have it. 1 copy of Curious Magnetism, defense, you gotta have it. 1 copy of From Mother Russia. This is, again, it's defense, you have to have it. It's also anti-card draw, so very good card. 1 copy of Bebop Blues. This card stops action cards. So let's say they block with like a Templar or something and they get to draw 2, I can just cancel it. So Sub-Zero makes them pitch a card and they don't get to draw anything. 1 more thing with this card, just a clarification, the bottom response, after your opponent plays an ability on the same card for the 3rd or greater time this turn, you commit their character. This means the same ability on the same card. I know there's a lot of confusion just because of how it's worded, but this card was modeled after a card called Nailed It. So Nailed It, if you read that like you read Bebop Blues, it's like you can only play 1 ability in your staging area, which is not the case. So Bebop Blues is same ability, same card. So just wanted to clarify that. 1 copy of Hacker Extraordinaire. I should have probably played 2 of this because the ability to exchange a momentum for another card is very good. And like I said earlier, there's not too much card draw in this deck, so putting in another one of these may have helped that. So Hacker Extraordinaire, very strong card. Now we move on to the Sub-Zero stuff. 1 copy of Retreated to Arctika. It's an enhance, you destroy it before the damage step. If this attack has 3 or more keywords, reduces damage to 0. So it's defense, you gotta play it. 1 copy of Destruction of the Cyberlin Kuei. You have face downs, you destroy face down for -2 speed, +2 damage, so this can be used both offensively and defensively. Offensively, if your opponent doesn't have a hand, speed doesn't matter, so you just blow up a face down, give it +2 damage, it's just more damage on the board. And on defense, you can destroy face down for -2 speed, so you can block the attack. So it's a very flexible card, it has nice stats. So yeah, Destruction of the Cyberlin Kuei. One copy of Mutual Respect. This is one of the coolest cards in the set. You enhance, you can throw away momentum, and both players can only play one more this enhance step. Now, there's a ton of decks that play like 5 or 6 enhances on their attack, and this card really, like, you know, hampers that. Other decks just like don't play enhances, they'll just play a fat attack and you just have to deal with it, but I don't play one of this. It's just a strong card to have. Again, it's defense, you gotta have it. It really stops like the big shot decks that play like all the big shots and then Alert and stuff. You can just say, nah, you only get one more enhance. Pretty nice. Then one copy of Left to Die. This is like the new Shopaholic. You commit it, and then after an attack is not blocked, you add one of your face-down foundations to your hand. So it helps you rebuy your foundations. You can pick up blocks if you don't block an attack or they don't block an attack. And then the other ability, you can spend a momentum to ready it. So very strong card. So yeah, that's the Sub-Zero deck. I will post the sideboard in the description, but I'm not going to go over the sideboard. It's like a 66 card deck, including Sub-Zero, 23 attacks. It will be a standard legal deck once Mortal Kombat comes out. There's no King of Fighters cards in here, so this is all ready to go. So hope you guys enjoyed the deck profile, and I'll catch you guys later.